because it's so lovely. And don't be put off by that. Don't try for anything. Just do it.
Nay, sure, he's not in hell. He's in Arthur's bosom, if ever man went to Arthur's bosom. A made a finer end and went away, and it had been any christened child. A parted even just between 12 and 1, even at the turning of the tide. For after I saw...
It's great. Just take a little bit more space between each thought. Okay. It'll be helpful.
Nay, sure, he's not in hell. He's in Arthur's bosom, if ever man went to Arthur's bosom. A made a finer end, and went away, and it had been any christened child. A parted even just between 12 and 1, even at the turning of the tide. For after I saw him fumble with the sheets, and play with flowers, and smile upon his fingers' end, I knew there was but one way. For his nose was as sharp as a pen, and a babbled of green fields. How now, Sir John, quoth I, what man, be of good cheer? So I cried out, God, 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 3 or 4 times. Now I, to comfort him, bid him I should not think of God. I hoped there was no need to trouble himself with any such thoughts yet. So I bade me lay more clothes on his feet. I put my hand into the bed and felt them, and they were as cold as any stone. Then I felt to his knees, and so upward, and all was as cold as any stone.
Oh, brilliant, yes.
No,
Can you feel it's beginning to come together, your feelings from the beginning and that thing, you know?
Yeah,
it's great.
Pick up and go on its own now.
Yes, it's really lovely, and it's not to say don't have emotion, but it's just, the emotion just has to, has got to come from, you can't suppress it any longer, do you see, rather than start out being emotional. Does that make sense? Yes.
It makes it more devastating that it isn't emotional. If it's, when you did it that time, it was quite so straight. And in a way, it's much more moving because what she's saying is so personal. What happened to her? That's enough in a way. The simpler it is in that way, the more upsetting it is, because people do that, don't they? If something terrible's happened to them, there's a kind of weird calm they have about them, the way they describe in detail what happened.
Exactly, yeah. I mean,
but also it's like a well-told story, or if you're telling a joke, you don't want to be kind of going, you're going to really like, this is really funny, it's really funny.
Yeah, exactly.
You want taking, so when you read it actually the last 2 times, I felt like I was you, or that I was standing next to you as you were taking me through this journey, and therefore your pain at the end was a surprise.
When people die, and somebody says, were you there? And then you start saying, yeah, and he was, and how was he? And somebody tells the story of how this person died. Yes. It's generally never, oh, he was just,
it's afterwards.
It's afterwards.
Yeah.
And you're drawn into the woman because of the incidental stuff she tells you.
You have to define that, don't you, to keep yourself sane,
Those are things that people can share.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone can think, oh, he looked like that, and he said that, and it's a way in for everybody.
Smile that his fingers end.
I think it's what I was thinking too strongly of character when I was beginning, thinking this woman's different than me, and I have to...
Don't say that.
I love the idea of his nose being as sharp as a pen.
Yeah.
It's so vivid, and
I didn't understand what that was in the beginning, but you used to tell me it was because it was so cold.
Yes.
Is that
like
right?
the crazy things that people remember about people, but people who have died, you explain them in a funny way that make you laugh almost.
I remember when the Piper Alpha oil rig blew up in Scotland, and they were talking to the guys who had survived. And one guy, when he was describing how he survived, the way he described it was, he said, I did a beautiful swan dive off of the shelf. And I thought, that's incredible that you're running and there's the whole panic and you're running to save your life, and what you most remember is that it was a beautiful swan dive. So imagine this guy kind of going, there's flames blowing up, people are dying, his friends are melting in front of him, and he runs to the edge, and what he remembers is how beautiful his dive was. And it was just incredible. And
that says everything, doesn't it, about where somebody is at. It's where our images are at.
What helped about the exercise for me is, I know if I'm describing a death, which I did yesterday with Tony Goldwyn, we were both in the room when somebody died, it's such a precious, bigger than human experience. It's almost like you wouldn't dare say, and then this happened. You feel like I have to be a perfect channel for this and not interpret, because it's so much bigger than I even get, that I'm going to tell you what the room looked like, what it felt like, and I wouldn't dare get in the middle of it, and that's, I think, why the simpler it was, the more it was unbearable.